Hi, I'm Brian Rios from Wahl+Case, and I'm here today with
Nanako Aramaki from TAMLO. We help global companies to succeed in Japan through content marketing.
And today we're going to talk to you about
Localization.
and the 5 things you need to know to be successful in Japan. Okay, Nanako, what's the #1 most important thing companies need to know about localization in Japan?
So the #1 thing is that people actually don't understand that Japanese people don't understand English. In fact, only 10% of the population think they are proficient in the English language. So it's really important to localize everything into Japanese and not just Google translated Japanese, but properly localized Japanese. You want to build trust with your Japanese audience. It's the same in English. If you're given an email with broken English, are you going to trust that person or company? So the best you can do, and a starting point for you, is to at least have proper Japanese.
Sounds good. So what is #2?
So the second most important thing is to localize everything properly, all written content. So that includes your website, all documentation, marketing materials, you name it. Make sure that it's transcreated, which is not just a direct translation, that it's properly localized. It's kind of like translation and creation, and it's basically a marriage of translation, but actually taking context and culture and nuances into the written translation. I'm sure we'll talk more about it in a future video.
Do you have any examples of maybe what went really well or something that maybe didn't go so well?
A simple example would be if you have a button on your website that says read more, and a direct translation might say motto yomu, but that's so awkward in Japanese. It's like telling someone read here now. So what you would want to say is probably something like 詳細はこちら. And you wouldn't say that in English, but that's what you would say on a Japanese website.
What does that mean in English?
Details over here.
Let's go to #3.
So when you think localization or translation, you might think, oh, I'll just translate written work. But actually, localization goes beyond written work. It's maybe your website's UI or UX. You might have to change your service entirely for the Japanese market based on your research. If you're from the West and you're used to clean designs, Japanese people will think, oh, there's not enough information, I can't buy this product. Another thing to keep in mind is that in Japan, customer service is top level. Like, you will not see it anywhere else in the world. And that's what people find normal in this country. So anything subpar of that superb level of customer service, they're going to think that you're not a competent company. Let's say you don't have a Japanese customer service team and you don't have a local team and you have a B2C product, you are not going to survive in Japan.
So let's move on to #4.
So the fourth thing you should know is that just because your employee is Japanese, it doesn't mean that person is a professional copywriter. So you might ask that person to translate, the company document into Japanese, but it's like, I'm not a professional writer. And when I write in English, I have a professional editor edit my content before it gets published. It's the same for anybody, anywhere, in any country, in any language.
Any examples that you would want to highlight?
Well, we often work with global companies that have a Japanese marketing person who is in charge of the country, and they have to do everything themselves. So we'll come across content that they have worked on and it's not at a professional level. And so we'll just go in and clean it up for them.
Cool. So let's move on to the last one, #5.
Make sure you have someone on your team who understands your brand, who is native Japanese, who can proofread the finished content that's been transcreated. So we at TAMLO, we have a team of transcreators, copywriters, and editors. And what we do is, obviously, we make sure that it's translated properly, but we also have a native Japanese editorial team who are not necessarily English speakers, who make sure that the content reads like natural Japanese. I think a lot of companies receive translated work and they have to edit it themselves because they know the brand well and they're Japanese, so they're like, okay, this is unnatural and they'll have to fix it. But when you have a a native Japanese person who does that final touch, the final checks, you can make sure that you have the right content going out.
So those are the 5 things that you need to know about localizing in the Japanese market. Any last thoughts, anything you want to share?
Just localizing one thing is not going to help you succeed in Japan. You want to make sure you're covering all of your steps and that you're not missing anything.
Great. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.